I never thought I'd be the guy to find out my wife, Lisa, was cheating on me, especially not during what should have been one of the proudest moments of our lives, our daughter Emma's volleyball tournament. We've been together for over 10 years, and for the most part I thought we had a solid marriage. Sure, there were little fights here and there, typical stuff, who forgot to take out the trash, disagreements about money, that kind of thing. But everything seemed normal, until it was. Emma's tournament was in a small town about 3 hours away. Lisa had been combative lately, snapping at me over small things, going out with her friends more often, coming home late, acting weird. I figured it was just stress from work or maybe her trying to get some time away from the chaos of our daily routine. I was proud of Emma, though. She's been working so hard to get a college scholarship, and I was doing everything I could to support her, taking videos of her matches, helping her practice, making sure she had all the gear she needed. That weekend, I set up my camera on a tripod to record her games, hoping to send clips to her coaches or scouts, and I wanted to keep a record of her progress. The first signs that something was off didn't come until the last day of the tournament. Emma was playing her last match, and I was so caught up in filming that I didn't notice Lisa texting on her phone repeatedly. I was focused, trying to get the perfect shot when I caught a quick glance of her screen. It was a message thread. I saw her typing, then receiving replies. I thought it was harmless at first, maybe a friend arranging to meet up later. But then I saw a message that made my stomach tight. Can't wait to see you tonight. Keep the door open. That's when I froze. My mind raced. Who the hell was she talking about? I discreetly moved closer, trying to look without her noticing. The message was from a number I didn't recognize, but I immediately remembered the name Jake. Yeah, our daughter's volleyball coach. It hit me like a punch in the gut. I had seen him around Emma during the matches, talking to Lisa more than once, but I never thought, never in my worst nightmares, that Lisa was sleeping with him. I backed away slowly, my heart pounding. I kept my eyes glued to her phone, watching her delete the message and turn away, acting like nothing was happening. When Emma finished her match, I pulled her aside, told her to pack up her stuff, and said I had to speak with Lisa alone. That's when I decided I couldn't pretend anymore. I needed to know for sure what was going on. Later that night, I took my phone and looked through the hotel's security footage, thinking I'd find some innocent explanation. Instead, what I saw made my blood run cold. The footage showed Lisa sneaking out of our room in the middle of the night. She entered the coach's room and they stayed there for a while. Then I saw her leave, looking guilty, hurried. The worst part, it was clear from the footage that they'd had sex. I saw them enter together, and after a few minutes she came out alone, adjusting her clothes like she was trying to hide something. I couldn't breathe. It was like a punch to the chest. I felt like I had been punched in the gut, then kicked in the stomach. I wasn't just angry, I was devastated. When I confronted her the next morning, her lies started flying fast. She told me I was overreacting, that I was paranoid, that I misunderstood, that it was just a one-time thing, just a stupid mistake. She said I was making her feel like a villain for catching her having a good time at a tournament. But I knew better. I knew what I saw, and I knew that this wasn't some innocent flirtation. It was full-blown betrayal. That was the moment everything changed. I felt like I didn't even recognize her anymore. I looked at her with disgust and heartbreak all at once. I realized I'd been blind, trusting her, loving her, believing in the marriage I thought we had. But now, all I could think about was how she'd lied to me, how she had been sneaking around behind my back, and how she'd been sneaking into that hotel room with our daughter's coach during one of the biggest weekends of Emma's life. I spent the night tossing and turning, trying to process what I'd seen and what I'd felt. The shock, the anger, the deep, gnawing sadness. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what. All I wanted was to make her pay for the pain she'd caused me somehow. But I also knew this wasn't just about revenge. It was about figuring out what I really wanted from this relationship, if there was any way to salvage it or if I was just fooling myself. That's where I am now, sitting here writing this out, trying to get my thoughts straight. I feel betrayed, humiliated, and honestly furious. My trust is shattered and I don't know how to move forward from here. I just know that whatever happens next, my life's never going to be the same. The more I thought about it, the more I realized Lisa's lies weren't just about that night. It was everything she'd been hiding, and in a way, I felt like her deception had been building for months. She'd become more dismissive, more bitchy, snapping at me over nothing. I just chalked it up to stress or her feeling overwhelmed with work and the kids. But now I saw it differently. The way she'd brush me off, lie about where she was going, or make excuses when I asked about her plans, it all pointed to something much darker. The thing is, Lisa is a master at pretending to be the victim. She's always been the queen of lies, twisting situations to make herself look innocent. She's good at hiding her true feelings, and she's got a way of making me feel guilty if I ever questioned her. I remember a night a couple of weeks ago. She got really bitchy because I pointed out she'd been on her phone too much while we were supposed to be having dinner. She snapped, told me I was paranoid and controlling, that I was always accusing her of stuff she didn't do. Now I see her words as just another way of covering her tracks. She's always had a way of deflecting blame, making me doubt myself. After I saw the footage, I was furious. I couldn't sleep, so I stayed up most of the night, watching the videos over and over, trying to piece everything together. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. This wasn't some fling. This was a full-blown affair. The way she sneaked out of the room, her hurried steps, the look on her face when she thought I wasn't watching, it all screamed guilt. And the fact that she'd been lying about everything. She told me she was going out with her friends, that she was just relaxing after a long day. She told me she loved me, that she was committed. But all of that was bullshit. She was with him in that hotel room having sex while I was recording Emma's games, proud of my daughter. The next day, I confronted her again, trying to keep my voice steady. I told her I saw everything. Her reaction was classic Lisa, defensive, dismissive, full of outright lies. She said I was imagining things, that I was paranoid, that I always jumped to conclusions. She told me I was overreacting, that I was making her feel like a terrible person for just having a good time during the tournament, that she deserved some fun, some escape from the stress. She threw in the "you don't understand. You're just insecure," and even accused me of not trusting her because I was jealous. But I knew her better than that. I wasn't jealous, I was hurt. Devastated that she could lie so easily, cheat so blatantly, and then try to turn it around on me. Honestly, the whole thing felt surreal. I kept thinking about Emma, about how this could ruin everything for her. Our daughter looked up to Lisa, and now I wondered what she'd think if she found out her mother had cheated on me during a crucial tournament. But mostly, I felt like my entire world was crumbling around me. I'd trusted Lisa with everything, my heart, my life, our family. And now I saw she'd been sneaking around behind my back, having sex with her own daughter's coach. I didn't know whether to feel rage, betrayal, or just pure sadness. It was a cocktail of every negative emotion I had. That night I stayed awake, ruminating on what to do. I knew I couldn't keep pretending I hadn't seen what I saw. The trust was gone, completely shattered. I started planning what my next steps would be. I couldn't just walk away without standing up for myself. She needed to know I wasn't going to be played for a fool. The idea of her continuing to lie, to manipulate, and to keep this secret was making me sick. I had to confront her again, but this time with a plan. I wanted her to understand that I wasn't going to be pushed aside or made to feel guilty for catching her. I wanted her to face the consequences of her actions. And so, I decided I wouldn't let her lie her way out of this. Whatever it took, I would make her admit the truth. I knew it was going to get ugly, but I couldn't keep living in this fog of deception. I needed clarity, and I needed her to understand that I wasn't going to accept her betrayal quietly. Not anymore. I was tired of being the fool in her game, tired of feeling like I wasn't enough. This was her choice, her betrayal, and now she was going to have to face the fallout. I just didn't know how much more I could take before I finally broke. The confrontation finally happened a day later, after I had spent hours carefully planning what I was going to say. I didn't want to lose my temper, but honestly, I was seething inside. I told her she needed to be honest. No more lies, no more excuses. I laid out everything I'd seen, everything I'd uncovered from the footage, from the messages, the way she'd been acting. Her reaction was predictable but still infuriating. She looked annoyed, like I was bothering her with my trust issues, and rolled her eyes when I brought up the hotel room footage. That's when the real bitchiness came out. She snapped at me, saying I was paranoid, that I was imagining things because I didn't want to face the truth. She said she'd only gone into Jake's room because she was lost, that she'd been drunk, and that they'd only kissed once. Funny, I didn't see the kissing on that footage, but whatever. She insisted that I was blowing things out of proportion, that she was a loyal wife and mother, and that I was just jealous because I didn't trust her. I couldn't believe her. How could she sit there, lie so blatantly, almost like she was trying to gaslight me into doubting what I'd seen? It was like she was trying to make me feel crazy for even suspecting her. She kept saying, "You're just overreacting. You're making this into something it's not." Then she spat out some bullshit about how I was insecure, that I did appreciate her, that I was just projecting my insecurities because I was worried she'd cheat. That's when I snapped. I told her she was full of shit, that I had all the proof I needed, and that she'd been lying to me for months. I told her I couldn't trust her anymore, that I was done being played the fool. I asked her why she did it. If she was so unhappy, why not just tell me? But she just kept lying, spinning her web of bullshit, saying it was just sex, that it didn't mean anything, and that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. Her tone was bitchy, dismissive, like I was just some jealous idiot throwing a fit over nothing. She said I was overreacting, that I was making her feel like shit, and that I needed to get over myself. But I wasn't going to let her do that. I told her I wanted her out of the house, told her this was over. That I was done with her lies, her cheating, her bullshit. I could feel the anger boiling over, and honestly, part of me wanted to shake her and scream at her to face the truth. But I just kept my voice steady, trying to stay in control. The thing that pissed me off the most was her attitude, like she thought she could just brush this off and go back to her life like it was no big deal. She kept insisting she was a good wife, that I was overreacting, that I should forget about it. But I knew better. I knew that once trust was broken, it was almost impossible to fix. And deep down, I felt a terrible sense of loss, not just for the marriage, but for the idea of the woman I thought I knew. That night, I packed a bag and told her I was leaving. I didn't want to argue anymore, not then. I just wanted her gone, out of my sight, out of my life for now. I didn't sleep that night, replaying everything, her lies, her sneaking out, the sex in that hotel room. I kept asking myself how I hadn't seen it sooner, how I let all the little signs go unnoticed. Now I felt stupid, betrayed, humiliated. I realized I'd been fooling myself into thinking we were happy, thinking she was loyal. All along she had been sneaking around, lying, betraying everything we built. In the cold light of morning, I felt empty. Part of me wanted to forgive her, to pretend I hadn't seen what I saw, but I knew that would only make everything worse. I wanted her to face the consequences of what she'd done. I was angry at myself for trusting her so blindly, but I was angrier at her for destroying what little we had left. I couldn't believe she was capable of this. I'd always thought she was the good wife, the perfect mother. Turns out, she's just another manipulative bitch who's good at hiding her true motives. As I sit here now, I realize the hardest part is still ahead. I don't know if I want to divorce her or try to fix this mess. Part of me just wants to walk away and never look back. But I also know I need to process everything, deal with the pain, the anger, the disappointment. I just don't know how to start healing from this kind of betrayal. It feels like I've been hit by a truck, and I don't even know who I am anymore. All I know is that I won't let her make me feel guilty for seeing the truth. No matter what she says or does, I've seen her for what she is now, and I'm not sure I can ever trust her again. The days that followed were a blur of confusion and emotion. I moved out of the house, grabbing some clothes and essentials, not really caring about where I was going at first. I just needed space, time to breathe, to think. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that hotel footage. Her entering, her leaving, the look on her face like she was trying to hide something even from herself. The betrayal hit me like a freight train, and I kept asking myself how I'd missed all the signs. What's worse, Lisa didn't even seem to care. She called me a few times that first day, trying to guilt-trip me, saying I was overreacting, that I was crazy for thinking she'd cheat. She called me insecure and accused me of not trusting her, but I knew the truth. I saw what she did, and I had the proof to back it up. Still, hearing her deny everything, trying to turn it around, made me feel even more helpless and angry. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her and tell her she destroyed us both, but I held it in. That's when I started questioning everything about our relationship. How long had she been lying? Had she been cheating for months? I remembered her recent attitude, more bitchy, more dismissive, and I couldn't help but think that all of it was tied to her affair. It was like she'd been slowly eroding our marriage from the inside. She'd been pretending for so long, smiling, acting like the perfect wife and mother, while behind my back she was fucking our daughter's coach. I kept replaying that thought over and over, feeling sick every time. I spent that night mostly alone, sitting in a strange hotel room, feeling like I'd been punched repeatedly. I was furious at her, of course, but also deeply hurt. I had trusted her with everything, my feelings, our family, the future we'd planned, and she threw it all away for some meaningless sex with a guy who coached our daughter. That thought made me want to vomit. I couldn't believe she'd be so selfish, so reckless. I kept asking myself why she did it. Was she just bored? Did she feel trapped? Or was she just a bitch who wanted to see how far she could push things? The next morning, I knew I had to make a decision. I couldn't keep living in limbo, constantly questioning. I needed to figure out if I could forgive her, if there was any way to salvage what was left of the marriage, or if I should just cut my losses and move on. I couldn't stay with her knowing she'd betrayed me so completely. I was already starting to feel numb, like my emotions had been drained, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I didn't want her to think she could just come back and pretend like nothing had happened. She needed to understand that her actions had consequences. I called a lawyer, made arrangements to get a divorce. I told her I'd had enough of her lies, her manipulations, her betrayal. I told her she'd crossed a line she could never come back from. I knew I was hurting, but I also knew I needed to take control of my life again. I had to rebuild somehow from this disaster. I couldn't let her destroy me completely, even if part of me still loved her. Love doesn't mean much when someone you trusted turns out to be the biggest liar you've ever met. That night I sat alone again, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. I felt empty, like I'd lost my best friend, my partner, the woman I thought I knew. All the plans, the dreams, we'd had so many together, felt so far away now. I knew I'd have to tell Emma what happened soon. I didn't want to scare her, but I also couldn't hide the truth. She was smarter than that. She'd already sensed something was wrong. I just hoped I could tell her in a way that wouldn't destroy her confidence or her love for her mother. This whole ordeal has taught me a lot about trust and betrayal. I used to believe in fairy tale endings, that love was enough to overcome everything. Now I see it's more complicated. Sometimes people you love and trust the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. I don't blame myself entirely. Lisa made her choices. But I do wish I had seen the warning signs earlier. Maybe prevented this from happening at all. Maybe I was blind. Maybe I wanted to believe in her too much. And yet, despite all the pain, part of me feels relieved. Relieved that I finally know the truth, that I don't have to wonder or guess anymore. The lies are out in the open and I can finally start to heal. Or at least try to. Right now, I don't know who I am without her or what's next. I just know I have to keep going for my sake and Emma's. Because no matter how betrayed I feel right now, I owe it to myself to find a way out of this mess. To rebuild from the ashes of this betrayal, no matter how long it takes. The days turned into weeks, and every morning I woke up feeling like I was carrying a weight that only grew heavier. I moved out of the house, into a small apartment nearby, trying to put some distance between me and the chaos of what had happened. I spent my days working, trying to keep things normal for Emma, but inside, I was a mess. The gut-wrenching betrayal kept echoing in my mind, her sneaking out the hotel footage, the lies she told to try and cover it all up. I'd never felt so stupid in my life for trusting someone so completely. I kept replaying everything, wondering how I missed all the signs. I've been so busy trying to support Emma's volleyball dreams, so proud of her, and meanwhile, Lisa was out there betraying us all. I kept asking myself why she even did it. Was she just bored? Did she get some thrill out of sneaking around? Or was she so selfish that she didn't care about the damage she was causing? I hated her for it, hated her for tearing apart the life we'd built. But more than that, I hated feeling so powerless, like I was just another fool who'd fallen for her lies. One day, I finally sat down and had a serious talk with Emma. She was only 16, but she already knew something was wrong. I told her I found out about Lisa's affair, that she'd been unfaithful, and I explained everything I knew, honestly but age-appropriate. She was quiet for a long time, eyes wide with confusion and sadness. I could see she loved her mom, but I also saw the pain in her face. It's not easy for a kid to process that her mother, her role model, had betrayed her family like that. I told Emma that I was hurting too, that I was angry but that I still loved her and wanted to do what was best for her. I promised her we'd get through this, one way or another. But inside, I felt like I was falling apart. The whole world had shifted beneath my feet, and I didn't know how to stand tall anymore. I just knew I had to be strong for Emma's sake, even if I was shaking inside. Meanwhile, Lisa kept trying to contact me. At first, I ignored her calls and texts. I didn't want to hear her lies, her excuses. But eventually, she showed up at my new place, demanding to talk. She was furious, accusing me of ruining everything, saying I was overreacting, that I was just jealous or insecure. She called me all sorts of things: selfish, possessive, controlling. She said she loved me, that she'd made a mistake, that she wanted to fix things. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I saw through her manipulation, her desperate attempt to make herself the victim. She looked so bitchy and entitled when she was arguing with me, like she honestly believed she could just wave her hand and this all would blow over. Her attitude only made me angrier. I told her she needed to leave me alone, that I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. I told her she had destroyed everything we had, and she just sneered like she didn't care. That moment made it clear to me she was never going to change. She was a selfish, manipulative woman who thought she could get away with anything. That realization was a punch to my gut. I had loved her for so long, convinced that we had something real. But now I saw her for what she really was, the kind of person who could betray her own family without a second thought. It's a hard thing to accept. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry all at once. I'd been so blind, so trusting. Now I knew I had to rebuild my life from scratch, and honestly, I wasn't sure I had the strength. But somewhere inside, I knew I had to try. For Emma. For myself. I couldn't let this define me, even if it felt like the end of everything I believed in. I spent hours just sitting there, staring out the window, trying to piece it all together. How did it come to this? How did I go from being a man who trusted his wife completely to someone who felt like a fool? I kept telling myself I'd eventually get through it, that time would heal, that I'd find some way to move forward. But the raw pain, the betrayal that cut so deep, it lingered like a dark cloud over everything. I knew I had to find some kind of closure, some way to forgive or forget, or at least to accept what had happened. But honestly, some days I didn't think I'd ever get over it. Now I'm left with a lot of questions. Will I ever fully trust again? Can I forgive her? Or is this the end of what we had? Right now, I feel like I'm just floating in limbo, trying to hold myself together, trying to protect Emma from the worst of it. I keep telling myself I'll get through this, that someday I'll look back and say I survived it. But inside, I wonder if I'll ever really heal. I just want to find peace again, even if that seems impossible right now. I guess all I can do is keep moving forward and hope that someday the pain will lessen and I can start to rebuild what's left of my life. Now, sitting here months later, I realize how much this whole ordeal has changed me. Whether for better or worse, I'm not sure. The betrayal cut so deep that I thought I'd never come out the other side the same. But I did. I had to. I had no choice but to face the wreckage Lisa left behind and try to piece my life back together, piece by painful piece. The divorce is finalized now. Lisa moved out for good, and I've been working hard to rebuild my relationship with Emma. It's not easy, trust is shattered, and there's this dark cloud of betrayal hanging over everything. But I refuse to let her win by breaking us completely. I want Emma to see that even when life throws its worst at you, you can survive. That's what I've been trying to teach her, even if I can't yet teach myself. Looking back, I see that I was naive for so long, believing in the fairy tale of a perfect marriage, in Lisa's lies about her being faithful. But I also see that I was blinded by love, by the idea that marriage was supposed to be forever. That's a harsh lesson to learn. Trust is a fragile thing, and once broken, it's almost impossible to get back. The thing I've learned most is that you can't ignore the red flags, no matter how much you want to believe in the person you love. I've come to accept that sometimes people just aren't who you think they are. Lisa showed her true colors: selfish, manipulative, ruthless. And yeah, it hurts like hell to admit that, but it's also a kind of relief. I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to live in the shadow of her lies. I can finally start healing, even if it's a slow, painful process. I still wonder about Emma's future. She's resilient, smarter than most kids her age. I hope she sees the truth in all this, learns to trust her own instincts, and understands that sometimes the people closest to us can betray us the most. I want her to grow up knowing what real love looks like, something honest, dependable, and loyal. I know she'll be okay. She's strong and she has me. As for myself, I've realized that I have a long road ahead. I'm not the same man I was before I found out about Lisa's affair. I've had to confront my own naivety, my trust issues, and my heartbreak. But I also know that I'm still here. I'm still standing. And somehow that's enough to keep going. I've learned that life doesn't always give us what we want, but it gives us the chance to grow stronger if we're willing to face the truth. In the end, I don't hold any bitterness toward Lisa anymore. I think I've moved past the anger, the rage, and the sadness. What I feel now is a quiet, steady resolve, dedication to making sure I don't get played again, and to protecting Emma from the chaos. I've learned not to trust blindly, and I've learned that some people are just better at hiding their true selves. It's not the ending I ever imagined, but it's the one I have. And honestly, I feel a strange sense of liberation in that. I've survived something that almost broke me, and I'm still here, still fighting. That's what matters. The pain doesn't go away overnight, and I know there will still be hard days ahead, but I'm determined to rebuild my life, piece by piece, with honesty and integrity this time. Because, in the end, the only thing that truly matters is that I'm still standing and that I can hold my head high, knowing I faced the truth and didn't run from it.